Discussion around the MMORPG landscape nowadays is quite the hot button issue. If you search them up on the internet, you'll often find a lot of topics discussing whether the genre as a whole is dead or not. While these discussions in videos can be hyperbolic, games old and new alike, such as World of Warcraft, New World, Throne and Liberty, and even RuneScape have been controversial over the past few years, with more recent mudslinging going to Final Fantasy XIV, who suffered a major blow to its critical reception with the release of the divisive expansion Dawntrail. The overall hype for the genre at large seems to be at an all-time low, especially on that one subreddit. It makes sense though. The golden age of the 2000s and early 2010s is long over, and our own standards for this genre of games are constantly rising. This situation sucks, as I myself have incredibly fond memories of going to MMOHuts.com as a kid and finding pages of virtual worlds to go explore. The biggest hurdle that we do understand, at least, is that making games is hard. Very hard. MMOs are even more difficult than that. Furthermore, game studios and investors alike don't want to take on the financial risk of creating a new MMORPG and having to reach insane sales goals and breaking even on production costs. It's a shame, as this genre is one of my very favorites. I have been loving them ever since I was a kid, but I didn't quite sink my teeth into one until Final Fantasy XIV, as I was older and could actually pay for a subscription. However, one MMO in particular has been staying far out of the limelight, but has been one of the most enjoyable and one of the most engaging experiences I've personally played. I've already put hundreds of hours into it. The issue with this game, however, is that to the average person, it's completely inaccessible. You're kind of barred from entry unless you're able to jump through multiple hoops, but it's a game I love, and it's a game I want to expose more people to. This is Dragon Quest X.
I said I can't take it, I know I'm gonna make it, I know I'm not normal, but I gotta fake it, I swear I'm not cocky, I am just confident that when I step on the stage I am dominant and now I'm begging you, put your loving hand out, baby, begging you, put your loving hand out.
I'm sick of living in the dark, so I'm begging for the light, feeling like I'm in a fight every single time I write, cause I gotta make sure that they hear me right. Told me that I couldn't do it, so when I pick up the mic I gotta kill it with something so real that when they hear it they can feel it to my soul. Lyrical cokehead, yeah homie I gotta blow, but first they gotta know who I is, so I'm begging for recognition on a mission just to do it big, cause I ain't new to this, I'm true to this, thinking I'ma stand up and roll out, homie that's ludicrous. Not here to play no games, I'm here to stay and make a change in major ways, so I remain up in the studio for days and days and spitting out these razor blades. Don't wanna place no blame, but without you I couldn't get to where I'm heading, so everybody I'm begging.
This game is actually quite old, originally coming out in 2012 on the Wii out of all consoles. However, nowadays various versions of the game have been ported to PC, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, and even mobile devices. So it sounds like nearly any modern console can run it, no? Well, the main issue isn't quite an availability one, it's a localization one or lack thereof. The game has never been released outside of Japan. For me, the time spent not being able to play it was agonizing. I am a huge Dragon Quest fan. When I was younger, Dragon Quest X felt like a locked up magical secret, with any information regarding it being near impossible to find. As I got older, the thought of me ever getting the chance to play the game diminished, although it still lived rent-free in my mind. That was until a video showed up on my YouTube feed about a year ago. The game was in English, the menus, the user interface, all of it. I, metaphorically speaking, sprinted to the description of the video and saw a particular website. I was led into a rabbit hole of Japanese addresses, deep-belled premium accounts, translating website after website and putting in tons of information. And I'm kind of scratching the surface of how daunting it can truly be to get into. All in all, however, it was totally worth it. Alright. Montage aside, what can you actually do in this game? Let's first talk about combat. You'll be doing a lot of it. Unlike the vast majority of MMO games, here it plays like a turn-based RPG, leaning more towards the active time battle system from earlier Final Fantasy games. You're able to position your character around and have the options of attack, spells, skills, defend, tactics, use items, etc. You select an action, wait a short while, then you're able to take an action again. You can freely run your character around, but keep in mind everything has animation commitment, so you don't want to end up in a bad position and take damage.
This MMO features a vocation system, but what exactly is it?
Think of the job system from Final Fantasy XIV. There are a lot of vocations to play, most already being part of the mainline series, and a few that are currently unique to DQ10.
Each can equip a variety of weapon types. Weapons like fans and wands have more skills dedicated to supporting the party, whereas weapons like great swords, rods, and claws are more DPS driven.
There isn't a holy trinity that you need to follow. In fact, you can take any party comp to any form of content, and sometimes you don't even need to be a certain level. Your success rate will certainly be higher if you bring a dedicated healer and are high leveled, but I digress. In my humble opinion, this ends up being one of the most fun aspects here. It's nice being able to play what you want and not be bound by some sort of formless entity that demands you enter a boss encounter with a specific role. One of my personal favorite vocations is Fortune Teller, a card-based vocation with RNG elements, as not only do I miss Astrologian from FF14, but I like making the game harder for myself. They have an entire deck building and tarot system in place where you can fuse and change aspects of cards, kind of like the Persona series. You can then take 20 cards and place them in a given deck. This means that Fortune Teller can fill just about any role or niche. For example, you can fill your deck with only healing cards and be the party's dedicated healer. You can blast entire groups of enemies away with attack magic, or drop comets on them for high single target physical damage.
My other favorite is Pirate, the gun vocation. Sorry, I got a little carried away.
At the start of your adventure, you're given these vocations to play. Warrior, an extremely underrated class bringing both great damage as well as damage mitigation in the form of debuffs and enemy stuns. Priest, this vocation is not only the best pure healer but also cannot die. Mage is the resident nuker slinging fireballs for massive damage. Martial artist psychs itself up, multiplying damage and unleashing it on enemies. Thief, I actually haven't seen a single player use this job, but I'm sure it's good. And finally, Minstrel. This job is left behind even harder than it was after getting all trades Appy in Dragon Quest IX, but despite this, it's a great support healer vocation that doesn't have to rely on cast times like Priest does. If I made these beginner vocations sound strong, that's because they are. The game is balanced enough to make everything viable.
There's no meta that you have to follow if you want to contribute to your team in a meaningful way.
Returning from Dragon Quest IX are coup de grace, now known as specials. They are powerful, unique abilities given to each vocation with a variety of effects. They can be triggered by many things, but most commonly by taking a lot of damage. Pirate, for example, calls on a big, girthy cannon.
These big one-button abilities are relatively simple as far as these types of games go, but I think this is one of the game's biggest strong suits. I think as an outsider looking in, a lot of MMO combat systems lack a sort of spectacle, or you're so far away from the action the game turns into an incomprehensible light show.
The hell is even that?
But here, you're right in the action. There's no complicated rotation or hotbar system either, and after playing so much FF14, I am perfectly okay with a more relaxed system. You could say that the lack of reaction-based mechanics and complex rotations makes the game a bit more casual than the average MMO. However, this does not mean that there aren't hard fights or more complex mechanics at play, however. In fact, one of my buddies is in the process of writing a guide about how combat truly functions and how to get better at the game. One shared feature seen here that is common within MMO games are skills with cooldowns. Cooldowns are typically anywhere between 30 seconds to 120 seconds long, but some cooldowns will be available at the very start of a battle, such as Minstrel's Rhythm and Bruise, which raises your entire party's attack power. You typically unlock these skills after you've invested skill points into a given skill tree. Well, what are these skill points? This mechanic has been a staple of the series since the 8th entry, and here each has its own unique skill line along with 3 weapon types, fisticuffs, and often shields. Another feature of the game is the support party. These are other players' characters being controlled by AI. Considering this is an online MMO that plays in real time, there's no direct control over the support party. The AI is pretty good, but it sometimes can be very annoying.
There's a bomb strapped to my chest! It's gonna explode!
Story and world building, one of the other foundations of these types of games. Here it's very heavy with cutscenes, with the player being center or adjacent to events happening around them. It plays almost like a mainline Dragon Quest title, but there's story beats where you're a bit less important, but you are still the hero. It does hype your character up, but not nearly as much as something like FF14, and understandably, some people may not like that and prefer to just be a random person in the game's world. I'm personally content with both of these approaches, so I'm unaffected personally. While there are some manner of fetch quests like in every MMO on this godforsaken planet, the story flows quite well, and doesn't feel like checking boxes on a list, which I feel is very important to mention. While there's a guide box at the top left of the screen that tells you to go someplace or talk to someone to advance the story, there is not an excessive amount of talk to 3 random townspeople or stand here and read pointless fluff dialogue for several hours. You never have that little devil on your shoulder trying to get you to skip cutscenes or anything like that. I truly commend the developers for not going the laser route and making the story pretty consistently entertaining. Each expansion gives you entire new continents, races of people with their own culture, sights to see, and most importantly, monsters to fight. Expansions in this game are known as versions, and we are currently on version 7, meaning there are 7 main stories for you to play through at the moment. I honestly don't even want to say too much about it, as I'd rather people play it and form their own opinions. I feel that if I or anyone else says a part of a story is bad, I feel like people listening will unconsciously hyperfixate on finding flaws or nitpicks. Now, are the stories presented in this game any sort of groundbreaking masterwork? Not to me personally, but the developers have completely mastered that sense of grandiose adventure you feel while playing role-playing games and have injected that on a massive scale. Both the journey and the destination are very important and entertaining, and I found myself revisiting old story locations just to take in the ambiance and the mood. The game for the most part has simpler stories with easy to follow plot lines as you go from kingdom to kingdom, reaching a crescendo of hype as you stare down the big bad. I have seen many people love it and Dragon Quest storytelling in general, and I can't blame them. It's simple and effective, tons of fun all the same. If there's anything to take away from this, is that Dragon Quest X does not insist on wasting your time. The story remains consistent and is one of the best parts about it.
Oh my God, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the?
Up to this point, I've neglected to talk about the multiplayer part of this MMO RPG. This is for good reason, as this section can be a bit finicky. In all honesty, Dragon Quest X can be a somewhat lonely game. With the aforementioned AI party system, you can play through most of the game's content completely by yourself. There is a good amount of group content, but much of it is supplementary to the game and not story related, such as the Stolsha Defense Force, 8-man group content where you straight up go to war against groups of enemies a la Helldivers 2. For raid content, there's fights such as the Skyscraper Tomb series, where you and 3 others can fight against incredibly difficult super bosses. The core experience, however, is single player. You don't even have to match up with other players in order to progress through the main story's dungeons and bosses. The overall social aspect is further different for us foreigners, obviously, as the game is in Japanese and 99% of the player base is Japanese themselves. It may be fun to observe whatever the hell is going on here, but what about us? We have some solutions, as there are dedicated English Discord servers with their own guilds in-game: Dragon Quest Worldwide, Team Moon, The Traveler's Tavern, and Dragon's Den. There's people chatting about the game and willing to help out new players all the time. All of these communities have tons of guides for vocations, gear, quests, etc., along with player-made events. I asked Cecil, the leader of Team Moon, for his thoughts about the game, and here's what he had to tell me.
Well, I've been playing since the start of version 6, nearly 3 years ago. Once I saw Dragon Quest X being a MMO, I really wanted to play it. So as soon as I saw that somebody was finally making a clarity or translation project for it, I came into it from that. What makes me play Dragon Quest over other MMOs is that it's easy to get into, easy to play. The thing is, Dragon Quest X doesn't require you to keep up with everything like most other MMOs do. Far more casual than even Final Fantasy XIV, but it still has its challenging content. So because of that, you're able to just quit it for years and come back whenever you want, and it doesn't take long to really get caught up as compared to, say, Final Fantasy XIV or any other MMO out there. And I like that because, like, man, I could just play it for a while, put it down for a week or two or a few weeks, and come back in. I do recommend it for those that don't want to be pressured and just want to come on when they feel like it and have fun, which is generally what a lot of our team members tend to do. Generally, like to do in Dragon Quest X is basically the questing and adventuring. Now, I know some likes to craft to make a lot of money, some likes to do the monster arena, some does the PvP, but me, I like doing the quests and following the story, especially the side quests and such, and looking for secrets. And there are a few secret quests to be found in Dragon Quest X. That's why I advise everybody that plays to talk to every NPC you come across. Now, as you can see, right now I am a Guardian. My favorite vocations are Guardian, Paladin, Battlemaster, and Sage. I always play a Paladin in every MMO I play in. Guardian would be that Paladin type class. Guardians have high defense, high HP. I could throw out heals if necessary. Depending on how you're statted out, you could throw out some pretty big heals. I like Guardian because you can switch between offense and defense depending on the situation and what's going on. Team Moon is always welcoming people. It will never run out of room, and pretty much you don't have to worry about losing your spot here. If you're gone for a year and you happen to be out of the team, it's okay. But otherwise, also expect events, which I actually have to plan some for this month. I usually host the events myself. But pretty much if you come to Team Moon, expect to always have a place here.
Cecil also uploads Dragon Quest X content. It even has an entire series of videos going in depth with every vocation of the game, so please check him out and give him a sub. Now, sorry to burst any bubbles, but before I cap off the video, I must mention some things about the game that I very much dislike. These shouldn't prevent you from trying the game, as these are mild grievances I have with it and not a reason to not play it. First, the universally disliked cash shop. Unfortunately, there's one here too. Cosmetics like weapon and armor, housing items, dyes, story skips, there is an insane amount of things you can purchase. You see all these cool outfits I've been dressing my character as so far? Most of them are from the cash shop. In fact, as cool as the glamour or outfit creation system is in this game, many pieces are cash shop only, and finding cool pieces that are part of the base game is a lesson in futility. While cash shop items in this game are extremely cheap and far cheaper across the board compared to other games, it's unfortunate that they found their way to seep their tendrils into a subscription-based MMO. One good thing I'll say is that there is a shop point system in place, which you earn as you spend real money in the cash shop. You can then spend these points instead of real money. I have bought quite a few items with these shop points as they add up surprisingly quickly.
One helpful tool that the game also provides is the key item, Fairy Mirror.
It lets you see just about every equipment piece in the game and whether or not it's obtained through the cash shop. So you can put in the time to piece yourself together an outfit with items only obtained in game. A more personal dislike that I have to mention is the sheer repetition of music in the game. Don't get me wrong, Koichi Sugiyama was an incredibly talented composer, personal views aside. I myself have entire playlists of the series' music as it's incredible. However, I am a veteran of the Dragon Quest series. I have beaten literally every single mainline Dragon Quest game, so obviously I have heard a lot of the game's soundtrack before I even started playing it. It's especially bad in the later expansions as it feels like 90% of the music is recycled from earlier entries. Furthermore, there is a noticeable quality difference between some of the music used. The game's OST includes both orchestrated music and the dreaded MIDI sound fonts. While the early game's music used is pretty much always the orchestral version, the sudden appearance at MIDI at points has completely thrown me out of the experience.
Now, unlike the following entry, Dragon Quest XI, the original pieces of music in this game are good, MIDI or not, which is a point in its favor. Unfortunately though, for someone like me, hearing tracks from the other games can feel out of place compared to the entry that it was specifically designed for. At the very least, this is much more of a personal problem. Chances are, if you haven't played Dragon Quest before, you'll probably have a great time with the game's soundtrack. I just have to put that out there.
I have well over 700 hours in this game, and honestly, I haven't even seen nearly everything this game has to offer. I've made it to version 6, but I've taken a break to get involved in the side content that the game offers. I have wanted to make this video for a very long time and decided to finally get around to it. I'm forever happy that I'm able to play this game after over a decade of speculation. I love Dragon Quest X, and I would also love for more people to play the game and get involved with it and its communities. The game offers a free trial for the first 2 versions of the game before you have to purchase anything. After that, the game runs itself about $30 USD and around $7 a month for a subscription. I want to share this game with those who are looking for a unique MMO experience unlike anything you've tried before. If you are at all interested in trying it out, please check the description as I will be posting links to help you get started on your adventure. For how the game is translated, there is a team behind the whole thing. It comes in 2 parts. The members of the Clarity team, who out of their generosity have gone through and provided a translated patch for both the main quest of the game, as well as most of the user interface, and the translation itself being a very high quality. As far as random NPC dialogue and generic game beats are concerned, Clarity also contains an external program that translates these lines as you play the game. Incredibly fun gameplay, an exciting story, and communities to call home. These are merely a sample of what Dragon Quest X has to offer. There's so much more in the game that I haven't even mentioned. This was my first time making a video on this scale, but I'm hoping I conveyed my thoughts and feelings on this game in a clear and concise way. If you liked the video, please give it a like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, and maybe ring the bell as I plan on uploading more videos about a variety of games and game adjacent content. I will read every comment under this video, so I'd love to hear people's thoughts. Let me know what you think. I also have started a Patreon as I'm really trying to get into this YouTube thing now, that you can also find in the description if you want to support me directly, but please, absolutely no pressure. Videos will be coming regardless. Thank you for sticking to the end, and please enjoy the rest of your day or evening.